Okay, so I think we can start. So welcome everyone to the live session number 2 of Catalocity. We call this session "Empower Yourself with Catalocity: From Idea to Incorporation: How to Bring Your Companies to Life." So before we begin, as we did in the live session number 1, we would like to share some house rules for you. So first of all, as happened the last time, this live session, as you can see, is being recorded. We make it available on YouTube with all the chapters, so you can skip to one another, the one that is more interesting for you. Second point, this is a camera on session, so please, guys, all of you, bring on your camera and open it now, so we can meet each other. And yeah, thank you so much for doing that. So I will stress the fact during the meeting, so please do it now. Second, questions. You can submit your questions using the chat buttons or start your camera and microphone and ask them at the end of this live session. Fourth, if we can't get all of your questions right now, we will reply to them on the general channel on Discord, as explained last time. And at last, we will be done by 5:30 GST, more or less, maybe earlier. We see how many requests we receive. Okay, so these are the house rules, and what is the agenda for today? So today, after the presentation of the house rules, we'll have the chance to get to know each other. So I will share some polls that you guys must reply. So this way we can know a little bit more better who is going to participate in this fantastic event. And then we will welcome Crimson Legal, two speakers, to talk about the idea to incorporation, and more specifically, how to structure your company so you do not accidentally give away control, how to choose and set up the right legal entity, banking, compliance, and tax, and the real reasons why ideas fail. After this, I will provide you with the next steps of Catalocity. As you know, today we're going to launch it. So after this live session, you can start working on your solution and ideas. And at the end, we will have a Q&A sessions with us, with the organizers, with the speakers, and all the stakeholders participating today. After that, as I said, we can let Catalocity begin, let the whole program start. All right, so now it's time to get to know each other. So as I was saying before, I would like to launch some polls, and you have 20 seconds more or less to reply. So let me go to the first one. The first one is what is your specialization? And I'm going to launch it right now. So it should appear on your screen. And we would like to know if you're studying chemical and biological engineering, or computer science and engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering, industrial engineering, or at last, intelligent systems and mechatronics. So I'm going to leave maybe a couple of seconds more for you guys to reply to the poll, and then I will share the results with you. I see that some people are still joining, so maybe I will leave this poll on for some more seconds. But yeah, basically, we would like to know better about you. I'm going to end the poll right now, and I'm going to share the results. So as you can see, we have many people from computer science and engineering, some people from electrical engineering and industrial engineering. So these are the profiles that are participating today. As you know, the event is open to all of these specialization in the American University of Sharjah. So yeah, this was the first poll. Thank you so much, everyone, for answering. I'm gonna stop sharing, and we're gonna go to the second poll. The second poll is, I'm gonna launch it right now. Which one of the following is your strongest skills? So in here, we would like to know if your strongest skill is artificial intelligence or machine learning, data science, data analysis, and data visualization, Software development, we have listed some languages, C++, Java, JavaScript, mobile apps, but you can select this part even if you don't, even if you are familiar with other languages. Cloud computing, network architecture, telecom, 5G, and so on. And at last, sustainability and energy optimization. So let's see, let's wait again for maybe a couple of seconds more. So yeah, these are the 5 open that we have. If maybe you want to tell us that you have different skills and you're stronger in something else, you can also write it down in the chat and we will read it, okay? So yeah, let me share the results with you. I'm gonna end the poll and share the results. So yeah, software development seems to be the most prominent skills in the participants of Catalocity. Second one, we have sustainability, energy optimization, which is very good. Catalocity is very focused on sustainability. And then we have at the same level, artificial intelligence, data science, and cloud computing. So this is the second poll. We have another one coming, which is the last one. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Stop share here. And we're gonna go to the last one, which is what's your top goal for Catalocity? So in here, we are provided you with 4 options and also another one, which is other. So the first one is accelerate my solution through investor connections or get access to qualified mentoring. As you know, we have incredible mentors and coaches participating in this event. Solve real-world challenges with AI solutions to meaningful global issues, or expand your network, okay? If you have any other goal which is not listed here, you can tell us again in the chat, and we'll read it, okay? So yeah, I see that people are still answering a bit. Let me see. Yeah, I think we can end the poll and share it now. So end poll, share results. And yeah, we have a clear winner also right now, which is solve real world challenges with AI solutions to meaningful global issues. This is very good because each one of the 3 challenges of a Catalocity are basically targeting this topic, solving real world challenges. This is what we're going to do with Catalocity. And yeah, and then we have expand my network, which is very good. You're going to get in touch with many, many mentors and coaches throughout this event. And yeah, accelerate my solution and get access to qualified mentoring. Also, we had some answer with that, which is very, very good. All right, so thank you so much, participants. Let me check if I need to admit someone else. No? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. And right now is time to talk about how to empower yourselves with Catalocity. From idea to incorporation, how to bring your companies to life. We have 2 incredible speakers today with us from Crimson Legal. We have Blanca Gracias, managing partner of Crimson Legal, and Hasina Hamed, associate at Crimson Legal. Welcome, Bianca. Welcome, Hasina, on stage. And we are really happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Hasina, I'll let you share your slides, so start sharing your slides.
Yeah,
Thank you
sure.
very much, Michelle, for giving us a platform to be able to talk about legal matters. It's not every day that entrepreneurs want to hear lawyers talk. They only go to them typically when they have a problem. So it's very interesting for us to come and talk to a bunch of young entrepreneurs, if you will, to share our legal thoughts based on our experiences. So needless to say, we're very excited. We would have been more excited if we could see you. Unfortunately, we cannot. So whoever's feeling brave enough to show us who's behind the names, it'll be nice for us to interact. It's always good to present to a bunch of faces than a bunch of blank screens, but we leave it up to you. Thank you, Michelle, for the nudge.
No worries.
So I'll introduce myself and Hasina very briefly. we're lawyers. What we specialize in is everything corporate commercial. So we specialize in exactly what we're going to help you talk about today. How do you set up a company? How do you bring a business to life? How do you scale it? How do you monetize it? How do you start making money? And also, how do you comply with the laws in a way that prevents you from incurring penalties or falling into any troubles or being non-compliant? So a business is successful when it is compliant. You start making money and not losing money when you actually are compliant with the laws in a funny way, believe it or not. So what do you think would be the first thing if you had an idea? And I'm sure most of you here are have ideas in your mind and you are wannabe entrepreneurs, say for example. What do you think? I mean, you can put this in chat or you can unmute yourself. But what do you think after you have an idea, what would be the first thing you would want to do? Nobody? Research? Sidra says research. I absolutely like that idea. Mohammed Dabag also says further research to validate it in the market. Yeah. Narrow down ways to go on about the idea, says Manar. Very good. Oh, Sidra also said plan. I like that idea, but research and plan. What else would you do once you have that idea? Prototype, good. I saw that a lot of you are into AI. So I would imagine that some of your ideas are around that AI space, if you will. A business plan, says Ty Dubai. Very good, Cicely. Thank you for that. I'm a big fan of business plans. I'm a big fan of planning, if you will. Of course, I'm a lawyer, right? I don't like any risk. So if I'm going on any journey, whether it is a travel or whether it's creating up a business, so I would always want to have a plan. So thank you very much for your contributions. The ideal thing to do once you have an idea is actually start creating it, start planting it, put down your seeds in the soil. So the first thing you ideally want to do is plan. Do a bit of research and put a plan together. You will be very surprised how many entrepreneurs we meet who say to us, we want to set up a business. And when we ask them, what is your plan? Can we see your business plan? And can we see your budget? They don't have it. A lot of entrepreneurs are being sold the idea of build it and they will come. This is the worst advice anybody could possibly give you. If anybody gives you that advice, please do not take it. Based on my 21 years of experience in law and legal risk, do not take that advice of build it and they will come. Because the first thing that you will need to do is put a plan together, put a budget together. If you don't have a budget, you don't know how much money or runway you will need to actually invest in the various verticals or operational components of your business, because you will need money. The cost of business is not the cost of a license. Let's clarify that. The cost of running a business is far more. So all those agents and those nice Instagram ads that you see, or those TikTok lives that go live, where they say, come get a license for 6,000 dirhams. Don't believe those. That's not true. The cost of running a business is far more than 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 dirhams that agents advertise. That's false marketing. It's not the whole picture. So how are you going to take your idea, incorporate it, license it, and then actually start making money? Hopefully, through this presentation today, Hasina and myself are going to put our experiences together in a practical way that you will remember at the end of this. That's our goal. And when you come out of this 1 hour short crash course, you will be confident that you can go and set up a business in an informed, compliant manner. So ready? So what are you going to learn today? You're going to find or be able or have an idea of the right business structure for you. How do you actually go about setting up a business? What are the steps you have to take, and what do you need to think about or have the foresight about? And we are going to explain this to you with real life examples. So it's going to be fun, dare I say. You're also going to master legal foundations. We are going to tell you the basics of intellectual property, basics of data protection. And for those of you who are interested in AI or who have a basic interest in AI or they want to build a business in AI, understanding data protection and IP is a core component to building any business, by the way. So that'll be very interesting for you to learn. And we're also going to go through some basics of legal documents. What legal documents do you need to put together and why are they important for you to know? Because sometimes if you're a founder and you're building a product, you think to yourself, why do I need a lawyer? Do I need a lawyer now? Do I need a lawyer later? So we are going to explain to you the legal concepts that you need to consider and why they're important at idea stage. And then we're going to go through some of the more boring parts of a business, banking, compliance, and tax. So you have an understanding of why that plays such a critical role at idea stage. And then we're going to discuss some fun stuff of what we have seen in our experiences of why ideas fail in practice. So Hasina, shall I pass over to you?
Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. I think I'll start with busting a few myths because, I mean, in the UAE, there's thousands of businesses that are registered on a daily, and they don't fail because the idea was bad. They fail because they don't have a correct structure. And I'm not here to scare you, but just to give you a little bit of an insight on how we can help and inform you about the different types of structures that are available. First, the cheaper the company license, the better. Like Bianca mentioned, the nice ads that you see on Instagram, they might look appealing in the beginning, but trust me, it's going to be way more expensive for you to be able to fix your structure later because it costs, I would say, the same amount to wind down a business that it does to set up. So let's say your activity doesn't match the activity that you're actually conducting in your business. And so you would need to shut down your business, your license, and get another one. And it's a lot of hassle. So it's best to get the structure correct from the get-go. Then I can operate without a license because I'm just testing the idea. No, that is called operating illegally. So for you to be able to operate legally in the UAE, you must be licensed correctly. I need a local Emirati sponsor to own my company. That is incorrect. This misconception comes from previously, a few years ago, you needed to have a 51% local sponsor in the Dubai mainland to be able to set up a license, but that's not the case anymore for, most of the activities that we would be using. So foreign ownership is allowed on the mainland and on the free zones as well. I'll get a visa automatically once I register my company. That is incorrect. So the license comes first, and then you get an establishment card, and then you get a quota, and then the visa process starts. So the licensing aspect allows you to operate an activity that is on your license legally in the UAE. And a visa allows you to stay in the country, and it comes from the immigration department. So they are completely total different documents and aren't necessarily correlated. And it doesn't also guarantee you a visa as well. Getting a trade license means I can do any activity. It is really important for you to get correct advisors in the beginning so they can guide you into getting the correct activity that you want to run. So let's say you have a marketing consultancy, you wouldn't be able to, let's say, sell skincare if the opportunity came to you. A golden visa gives you the right to set up a business. Again, that is incorrect because visa, like I explained earlier, visa and getting your business license are two different authorities and they are not correlated at all. My visa and labor card are the same. they are not. One is immigration. It allows you to stay in the country and reside here legally. And the labor card allows you to work in the country legally and be employed. And the last one, and my favorite one, you go to a lawyer only when you have a problem. This is the main misconception I think people have, but that is completely incorrect. And as you can see, I mean, I hope you can tell that Bianca and I are very friendly, and lawyers are not that boring or dull, and they can really help you from stopping a problem from happening. Oops. Then let's get into selecting your business structure. These are the different types of structures that are available to you. And this is the part where people overlook the most, or let's say underestimate, and they regret later on. It's really important for you to get this correct, because the type of company that you have determines who is liable, who controls decisions, who gets what, and most importantly, who carries the risk. And it's the foundation of your business totally. And I mean, you can tell also from the names of the different types of companies kind of what they mean, but we'll just go into a little bit more detail of what kind of options are available for you. The first one is sole proprietorship. It's the just me option. So it's simple, you have full control, you have no shareholders, it's just you. And that comes with the downfall that you have unlimited personal liability. What that means is if your business gets sued, you get sued. And then you say hello to your personal bank account and everything you own in your personal name, because with freedom comes responsibility. Then we have holding company and SPV and PC. Again, from the name, it's a holding company, so it holds assets. So an SPV and PC also similar concepts, but they're called different names in different free zones. So the DIFC calls them prescribed companies or PCs, and ADGM in Abu Dhabi calls them SPVs or special purpose vehicles. Their main objective is to hold assets or investor money. And they don't necessarily have any operational activities. Operational activities is like hiring employees, getting into contracts with suppliers, issuing invoices. So all of these are operational activities, and they bring on a lot of liability, because if something goes wrong with the suppliers, with the employees, they will come after that company. Now, the idea behind having a holding company is so you can separate your assets from your liabilities. So a common structure we see with startups is they have a holding company up here, and the investors come here, all of the money comes here, and then below that, oh, I think I created a heart. Below that is the operational company where all of the liabilities come in. So like I said, the contracts, the employees, everything comes under it. So this way you're separating it. So if anything goes wrong on operational level, your money and your investors stay untouched. And for holding companies, I know some free zones do offer operational activities that come together with the holding company. I think ADGM, DIFC, and Meydan as well offer this. So it really depends on where you're setting up, and you can have a discussion with the regulator and understand more about the different type of company they have. But the idea stays the same, that it holds assets. Then we have the LLC. I'm sure this is probably the type of company that everyone is most familiar with, and it's the most common structure that we see as well. Especially with startups, they end up with an LLC. It has limited liability, like it says in the name. That means that you get a share capital, or when you're setting up, they ask you for a share capital. So your liability is capped to that specific share capital. There's no minimum or maximum that the law requires for your liability or for your share value to be. However, what is mostly common that I've seen is businesses usually start at a minimum of 100,000 dirham share capital. That means if your business gets sued, you are only liable up to that 100,000 dirhams. So nothing more, nothing less. And that kind of keeps you safe. So all of your personal assets are completely safe because it's a completely different legal entity with its own share capital. And the minimum requirement is 2 shareholders and the maximum is 50 shareholders. And I think also one more thing I would like to discuss under this, because I've heard a lot of confusion between share capital and equity value. They are complete different things. Share capital is the nominal value you put on the trade license for the value of each single share in that company. But the equity value is the actual value of your company. So you don't really need to make them always be the similar or be the same. It's completely different. And yeah, then we come into the very interesting discussion of free zone versus mainland. We have over 65 free zones in the UAE. Don't ask me why, but there's so many, and every day I see a new free zone pop up, and they're trying to do something new. But what determines where you should set up and which of those 65 free zones is right for you is the activity that you're providing and the client demographic that you have. Now we have the mainland as well, which is everything excluding the 65 free zones. And you have to look in what kind of activity you are doing. So if it's a financial kind of activity, it would be licensed in a financial free zone, which is the IFC ADGM. If you work in, let's say, commodities, then you would gravitate towards setting up in DMCC. So it really depends. There's no best free zone out there, because I've heard this so many times. Like, what do you recommend? What is the best one out there? There is no best one. It's what is most best suited for your business or for your idea. And I think the best advice I would give is, in general, about structuring your business, is to have a lean structure. Don't go around setting up 5 businesses because it looks impressive. Trust me, it's the amount of paperwork you will have to do and all of the compliance and all of the regulatory matters you have to deal with will be a complete disaster. So have a lean structure. You will have less admin. You will be completely compliant, less headache, and don't go for the cheap stuff. Go for the right stuff. And yeah, it might look boring, but I swear it's gonna save you so much in the long run. And I hope I didn't bore you, so I'll pass on to Bianca so you can take on the next slide so we have some variation.
I have a question before we move on to the legal foundations. Who knows what are the legal documents that you get when you set up a company? Do you know what types of legal documents you receive from the regulator when you set up a legal company? I'm just curious. Hasina indicated it in her talk. She indicated to it, but I don't know if everybody caught on to it. So I'm curious to know if you know what documents are given by the regulator when you set up a company. No takers? Nobody knows the answer?
Me? Can I?
No, you can't actually. Certificate of, yeah. Good one, Amir. Amir says certificate of registration. That's a good one. The license is tied to buy. Good. Yeah. The license is, I guess, the document that says now you can actually do the work. You can actually operate. You can issue invoices. So when you get your license, I think that is the moment when you can say, yes, my company is now finally open. But another document that you do get is either or both memorandum of association and the articles of association. Don't confuse that with a shareholders agreement. It is not a shareholders agreement. Think of it as the architectural framework of how your company runs. It essentially is an extract of the company's law. So it's just a formality. And then some regulators issue share certificates, some don't. So that is also tricky. And some regulators also issue certificates of registration, like Amir rightly said, or certificates of incorporation. So that's a fun one. Think of those as like birth certificates of the company. That's a good way to remember. You always have a document saying you were born on this date. They don't say what time, unfortunately, but they do say this date. And it looks nice and fancy. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide about mastering. What are they called again? Hasina, maybe you can type in the chat for Yusur the names of the documents. We'll move on to mastering legal foundations. Now, when you set up a business, Hasina mentioned, there is a value, a par value for your shares, which typically is, there's no minimum or maximum set out in the law, but typically when a company is set up, a lot of founders go for the par value of shares. The minimum they go for is 100,000. So your share capital, if it's an LLC, is typically minimum 100,000 dirhams. But that does not indicate that's the actual value of your business. The actual value of your business is your equity value, right? It's the valuation that you come up with. That includes the value of your assets, and your assets will typically be tangible or intangible. Now, tangible assets are assets that you can see. What do you own in your business? Maybe you own a big projector, machinery, cars, other assets that you can see, that you can identify, that are in your inventory list. But you will also have, and nowadays this is becoming very popular, right? Because a lot of our businesses are tech businesses, if you will. And as engineering students, you will resonate with it. So a lot of our assets are intangible. We also call them intellectual property. So intellectual property are typically things like trademarks, patents, copyrights, industrial designs, and trade secrets. I'll say that again: trademarks, patents, copyrights, industrial designs, and trade secrets. Out of these 5, one cannot be registered. Can you tell me which one? Take a guess. And Hasina is not allowed to guess. Who can guess what cannot be registered? Shall I say it again? Trademarks. Can trademarks be registered? Copyrights. Can copyrights be registered? Patents. Can patents be registered? Industrial designs. Can industrial designs be registered? And trade secrets. Can trade secrets be registered? And when I'm talking about registration, I'm talking about with an authority. Well done. Wow, guys. You're already out there. Well done, Amir, Shayli, Yusur. Well done. So trade secrets cannot be registered with any authority because they wouldn't be trade secrets anymore. So the limited number of people that you disclose trade secrets to, the more they stay as trade secret. And trade secrets are the only NDAs that you will sign with respect to that have that have to be kept confidential for life. So when you sign NDAs, you don't sign your regular NDAs. You sign really, really strong NDAs where you say you will keep this a secret for life. Fun examples of trade secrets are the KFC chicken recipe, Coca-Cola's recipe. I think Pepsi may or may not have a trade secret in there. But these are all trade secrets that very few people know, and they're not allowed to disclose it to anybody else on earth. Sometimes when you read those NDAs, they can be pretty fun, at least for lawyers. Anyway, coming back to the IP that you can register, trademarks. Trademarks can be registered in the geography or jurisdiction where you are located in. For example, if you are setting up a business in the UAE, you can register it in the UAE. Once registered, a trademark is typically valid for 10 years. So in the UAE, just to give you an indication, trademark registration costs about 9,000 to 11,000 dirhams with the Ministry of Economy to register. And once you register it, it's valid for 10 years. So what it does is you're literally protecting your name. Say, for example, the name of my business. It's Crimson Legal. I protect Crimson Legal in the class of services. And I register it to the Ministry of Economy. And that registration actually helps prevent other businesses from adopting the same name or using the same name. You can actually issue cease and desist letters if somebody tries to copy your business name. And that adds value to your business and increases the equity value. And that's what you want. So the purpose of mentioning IP in context of intangible assets is so you think of it when you set up your business, because if you think about what is my intangible assets and what are my tangible assets, what can I register, you're thinking about building the value of your business. This also is very attractive to investors, so never forget that. So then coming to patents. Patents are typically innovations. They are something that has not existed. So if you come to me and you say, I'm going to actually launch a coffee shop and it's going to have specialty coffee and the most incredible kind. And what's going to be different is the type of heart that I'm going to draw on the coffee. It's going to be in green, the brightest green you've ever seen. I want to patent that idea. I'm going to go, no, I'm sorry, we can't patent that idea because there's nothing innovative about it. It's not something that could not exist or does not exist or something that somebody has not thought about. So a patent can only be registered, and it's valid for 25 years when it's registered, but it can only be registered if it's something so innovative, it doesn't exist yet. So think about that, especially in context of AI, especially in context of technology. A lot of you are in technology. So if something is not existing yet, the first thing you need to do is go register the idea. Don't talk about it to anybody. There's no point in signing NDAs either. The first thing you do is you go and you register the patent in your name. Once it gets passed and approved and registered by the patent office, then you can talk about it all you like because you've got ownership of that patent in your name. That's the tricky thing with patents. You have to be fast to move and register. Let's go to the next page and talk about copyrights. For those of you who write code, if you're writing code that is unique, that could be registered as copyright if it's unique. It's just like literature, songs, music, art. These can all be registered as copyright. So that's also very interesting. The thing with copyright is registration gives you an additional protection, an additional value, but that does not take away the rights of the author. So if you can prove that you created that piece of work prior to anybody else posting it out there or putting it out there, you have a right to ask them to take it down because it is your creation. It gets tricky nowadays with AI in the mix. So if you're going to put AI in the mix and create a work with AI, you may not be able to claim authorship because it is created by AI, especially generative AI. And you may not be able to register it with the Copyright Office. So just take that into consideration. The laws, unfortunately or fortunately, have not evolved yet to determine how you would segregate authorship in that case. So just be mindful of that. And we spoke about trade secrets. Trade secrets cannot be registered anywhere. They can only be protected by non-disclosure agreements. What's next on the list, Hasina? Understanding key contracts. Is this, am I meant to go through the slide or are you going to go through it? The fun one is mine. Hasina knows that this one could potentially bore you. So she's like, you know what, Bianca, you go for it. But I promise you, it's going to be fun. So the main types of contracts that you have to think about when you set up a business are client agreements. If you have, say, for example, a business where it's a consultancy, you need to think about the agreements that you're going to have with your clients. And then you need to think about, do I need to have also any agreements with my suppliers? Am I going to have any suppliers? Remember, if you don't have agreements in place, if, for example, a client defaults and does not pay you on time or does not pay you at all, even if you come to the best lawyer in UAE, they will have difficulty in making a claim to help get you that money back if you don't have a contract. It also puts you in a very difficult position of what the scope of work was that was agreed, what the deliverables were, and when payment was meant to have been made or how much at all. It also places confusion as to dispute resolution. Where can you actually go to resolve disputes? So having a contract to determine any commercial terms with a client or a supplier is always key and crucial. Then coming to non-disclosure agreements. Here's a fun question, and I always like to ask this question. So if you've attended a previous session or addressed by me anyway, you would have heard this question, I'm sure, because it's a question I love a lot. What's the difference between a non-disclosure agreement and a confidentiality agreement? Who can tell me the difference? I will be very impressed if you answer this question correctly. Very impressed. I should have organized some prizes actually, Michelle, because I think it would encourage the response.
Yeah,
Do virtual
indeed,
prizes.
indeed. Next time we will, absolutely.
Yeah. So nobody knows the difference between a non-disclosure agreement and confidentiality agreement? It's like a trade secret. One of them is to keep a secret. Good attempts. Amir and Sidra, good attempts. Shaylee says, I think NDAs are stricter maybe. You, sir, confidentiality agreement doesn't work once you leave. Good attempt. Anybody else? What about the others who are quieter? There are some who are very active on the call and the others are very silent. And I don't know whether you're thinking or you're absent. But let me tell you, let me give you the answer. There's somebody in the waiting room. So the answer is that there is no difference. A confidentiality agreement says keep things confidential. And a non-disclosure agreement says do not disclose. It's literally the same thing. So potato, potato, really, it's the same thing. So when you sign a non-disclosure agreement, a lot of people believe in a myth. They say it's not enforceable. It is enforceable if you draft it correctly. And if the dispute resolution clause is well drafted, it is very, very enforceable. Of course, you need to be able to prove that the breaching party disclosed the information or violated the covenants of the contract. And if you are able to prove it and your dispute resolution clause is drafted well, then it's definitely enforceable. Co-founder agreements. Now, if you are entering into a business idea or setting up a business with a co-founder, please have a co-founders agreement. I cannot stress enough how important it is. Even if you do not go to a lawyer, put down a simple form of an agreement between yourself and your co-founders to set out exactly what each party's contribution is going to be and what happens if at all a party does not perform or go through. And let the dispute resolution clause be ideally DIFC codes or ADGM codes, because both these jurisdictions have a small claims tribunal where you can resolve smaller disputes, especially at early stage or nascent stage, without the need of a lawyer. You can choose your language and you can adjudicate the disputes virtually. There is nothing better than the DIFC or ADGM codes for smaller disputes. So always keep that in mind. DIFC codes or ADGM codes, and must sign co-founder agreements. And the other thing that you need to keep in mind is if you're hiring employees, freelancers, interns, full-time or part-time employees, or consultants, always have them sign a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and a contract, whether it's an employment contract or it's a part-time consultancy contract or an internship contract. You must get them to sign a contract. And if you've set up a company already and they are hired under that company, make sure you get them the right labor card, especially if they are on mainland or in regulated jurisdictions like DIFC, ADGM, JAFSA, DMCC. make sure you register them with the authority and get them the part-time or full-time permits or labor cards issued by that particular jurisdiction. It always helps in terms of making sure your rights as an employer are protected and also giving them their rights as an employee and making any foreseeable risks minimal. What's next, Hasina? I think over to you for this.
I think you're telling me that I gave you the worst, but I think this is probably like top boring slide of the whole presentation. Banking and tax, but we'll try to make it a bit light and fun. This is where everyone gets super stressed. I mean, rightfully so, because it's banking and it's just a whole other ballgame. And because, just getting your trade license is a lot of paperwork, but this is like opening a bank in the UAE is pure interrogation, and it can take a very long time, about 1 week to even 6 months, because banks have a lot of strict compliance obligations that they need to follow, and they pass this on to the companies. And when you open a bank account, it's not just them opening a bank account for you. They're asking you, who are you? Where's your money coming from? Who are your clients? Show us your client contracts. Which countries are you dealing with? And is the activity that you're conducting high risk? And they just ask you an endless list of questions, and it goes on and on and on. And sometimes it does really go on for 6 months, and you still don't have a bank account and you don't know how to operate. So it doesn't mean that you cannot open it. You just need to be aware of the nuances that go through opening a bank account here. Also, one important key to note to keep in mind is that your personal accounts should be separate from your company accounts. Just because your company account is taking a while to be set up doesn't mean that you can use your personal account for any company matters. You shouldn't mix company money in your personal accounts, because you will create accounting issues, you will create tax issues, and most importantly, you'll have a lot of legal exposure. And if it's a dispute, let's say with the company at any time, the court can say that you didn't treat the company property properly. And also vice versa, you shouldn't use the company bank account for your personal, for any personal accounts that you have. So you can't pay your house rent, let's say, with the company bank account, because in turn, you get the same sort of issues with it. We also say that it's important, or it's recommendable, to have at least 2 bank accounts because of risk management. Let's say if one bank freezes your account for a review that they have, or a transaction that you did that in the bank's mind didn't make any sense, they might freeze your account with any notice. So once that happens, then again, you'll be stuck in a position where your company does not have a bank account. When you have 2 bank accounts, let's say the first one gets frozen for any reason, you can use the second one and business gets going. And just to clarify again what high risk means, this is in the idea of the bank, an activity on a trade license that handles with a lot of cash, or has large transactions that cannot be traced that easily. For example, jewelry business. These are high ticket items, like diamonds can't really be priced that effectively, and it's kind of a price the jeweler, let's say, puts on that diamond, and you get a transaction with the bank, and the bank is like not really sure if that money really came from that specific piece of jewelry. And also there are some nationalities which are on the FATF gray list, which are also considered to be a high risk shareholders of a company, which will then again complicate the banking process. And I think the worst combination that I've seen was a high risk client with a high risk passport and then a high risk activity. And it was just like, I was like, you just don't try to open a bank account, because sometimes we've seen that some banks just refuse, and you just have to try with another bank. So it's something to consider when you're going through your business plan and you're planning everything out. And then the other fun part is tax. So we have corporate tax and we have value-added tax. Corporate tax, it's super easy to register. You just need to get a right advisor. It's not a tedious process. And what's really key is for you to register it within 3 months of incorporation. If you don't do that, you will get fined. And that goes for everyone. It doesn't require a minimum threshold or anything. That's just purely registration. And in terms of actually being taxed, it applies to net profits above 375 dirhams and 1,000 dirhams, and that will be taxed at 9%. So registration now, and then later on you can deal with actually paying the tax. Then for value-added tax, that is mandatory once you have reached a threshold of 375,000 dirhams in annual taxable supplies. So once you reach that threshold, you must register. However, you can also choose to register or opt in to voluntarily register once you hit the threshold of 187. And one more regulation that has recently come into effect is e-invoicing. It becomes mandatory starting from July 1st of 2027 for all companies that are VAT registered to start using e-invoicing. So it's not fun, but you cannot ignore it, and you need to definitely take this into consideration once you're planning for your business. Bianca, do you want me to do another boring slide?
I mean, it's up to you. I can take it on.
It's fine. I'll go through. I just hope I don't again the monotone voice. So regulatory compliance. This is, I think, what founders, I would say, ignore the most until they get a fine. So we're trying to keep you informed from the get-go. You can't really start a business and hope that the best happens. Depending on the type of industry, you have specific approvals that you might need. For example, if you are in health, if you would need some sort of registration or permit from DHA. If you are running a financial business, or if you're handling money from clients, you would need an additional permit. If you are in education, you would need the KHDA permit. So depending on the specific type of industry, you will need something specific. So again, you need to check this with the correct advisors to make sure that you're operating within the guidelines. They say that UAE is super business friendly, but we are not business careless. So be super careful with the type of activity that you are conducting. And with data protection and privacy, it's super, super, super important, because if you collect any type of information from clients, any customer details, any emails, any passports, Emirates IDs, or even payment details, if you have, if you're selling something on an e-commerce website, you have a lot of legal obligations. You must make sure that all of this is dealt with in a very protective manner, where you don't have any data breaches. Not just because it's embarrassing to have a data breach, but also because then you'll have, it's very legally serious, and there's going to be a lot of fines that you need to endure. So this is, again, really important to make sure that you also have policies internally within the team to how to address, let's say, when there's a security breach, when you should inform your clients of these issues, and what they should, have a heads up if their emails have been leaked, what kind of information has been leaked. So all of these policies and protocols need to be in place from the get-go, because you can't just say, oops, we got hacked. You need to properly, deal with it. Then we have licensing and permits. You need to have the correct licenses for software, for technology usage or operations. This kind of ties back in with the IP discussion that Bianca was having. And if you're using any type of tech, you want to make sure that you're using it with the correct licensing, and also that you're aware of any regional and global requirements or nuances that are specific to your industry. Yeah, I think
Asina, before you pass it on to me, I know you're eager to pass
I'm
it on.
dying to ask as well.
1 second. You spoke about regional and global compliance, and I just want to touch on, because I remember from the poll that Michelle ran, there were a few of the businesses that are into AI and tech. And I do want to draw your attention to those businesses that, remember, if your business touches European Union remotely, so you process the data of any European Union citizen or resident, or your tech is being sold, your AI platform is being sold to anybody in Europe, you automatically fall under the jurisdiction of GDPR, which is the gold standard of data protection in Europe, because it has extraterritorial jurisdiction, i.e., if you touch me, I touch you. It impacts you. So you have to be very careful with GDPR, because the fines are hefty. They run into multi-million dollars for breach under GDPR. And if you are a tech platform that's using AI and you touch EU, you're selling it to EU customers or clients, then remember, you must comply with the EU AI Act. There is no option for you. You must comply. Otherwise, the authority can actually fine you. So be very mindful of the authorities that can actually regulate you, because some authorities do have extraterritorial jurisdiction when it comes to the fact that you're dealing with their citizens or their residents. And sometimes even their currency. You know, the United States, if you deal with their currency, they say we have jurisdiction over you. So be very careful with little things and nuances like this when you do business. Okay, we're almost there. You're holding in great. I have to say, well done to getting through an hour with lawyers. You're almost at the end. Coming to the end of why ideas fail. In our experience, why have we seen ideas fail?
Oh, yes. Hi. I'm not too bad. Thank you. How can I help?
So
Let
some
me
very
mute.
practical reasons as to why ideas fail. When they are built around what the founder likes, not what the market actually needs. So we always say to founders, find out a need, find out a problem that you're trying to solve. What problem are you solving? How fast can you solve it? And how many people need this to be solved? If only you and your neighbor have a problem, don't go start a business. Just solve your problem. You don't need to set up a business for that, right? So think about how scalable your business is. Is it actually solving a bigger problem that people have, and how are you going to monetize it? Another problem founders have is they go get a license and they don't know how they're going to monetize the idea, which is why, coming back to the earlier question about business plan. I know we were discussing business plans earlier, and this is why I said business plans are very important, because your business plan shows me or shows any advisor how you're going to monetize your business. And then we can identify where your risks are and advise you how to plug those loopholes or risks. Now, when another legal risk that we see is 50-50 partnerships. Founders get together and say, I like you, you like me, let's come together and form a business. There couldn't be anything more potent or deadly than coming together, having no idea what you're doing, and just because you're friends, you set up a business together. And what's even worse is if the business is set up without a co-founder's agreement. So always remember, when you come together as friends or business partners and you're setting up a business, think about what is each party's contribution to the business for the long term, or at least for the next 2 or 3 years. On the basis of that, you get a slice of the pie. You just don't get a slice of the pie because you're friends. You don't distribute equity freely just because you can. Remember that. Then when partnerships come together and the founders assume that demand exists when they've not tested the prototype, for example, we spoke about prototype earlier, right? When you don't create a prototype, you don't test it, you don't have proof of concept, you don't know what's going on, you don't know how you're going to monetize, there's no beta testing done. You just don't know where you're headed and where you're going, who you're going to sell to. And The next slide, Hasina. Where founders underestimate how much time, money, and discipline. So we found two areas, right, in our experience where founders really underestimate their runway is going to go. One is into research. Funny, right? The pain point that we mentioned earlier. Founders always underestimate how much money they're going to spend on research. And secondly, marketing. When we were creating these slides, Hasina and I were thinking up really hard about that business in the UAE that spent so much money marketing on helicopters. They would have helicopters flying in the sky with advertising and marketing, and then they went bust. And then we decided it's best not to say the name because we don't want to get into any legal trouble. But you know who we're talking about. If you spend all this money that you have on marketing and PR and not enough on people, product, and policy, that's where you can easily go wrong. So those are real legal risks. This is why, again, you go back to your plan. You need to have a budget. You need to have a plan. How much am I going to spend on what? Now, an idea may look strong in theory, but it can collapse if, for example, a regulator cannot license it. Actually, let me give you a really fun example here. A founder once came to us and said, I've got this exciting idea. It's going to be Uber for travelers. And I said to him, what do you mean Uber for travelers? He goes, yeah, so if you're traveling to China, for example, and you've got extra space in your luggage, you can put out an ad or a message on this app that I'm going to create, and they can, whoever wants to send a package, they can actually send a package with you to China. And I go, what are you on about? The first thing that any airline says is don't carry packages that are not yours. This breaches every international rule I can even think of. And he said, no, but this is a real great idea. I said, the idea could be great, but please don't go get yourself licensed and then try to sell this because you'll be shut down, worst arrested by regulators or airport security. So you always have to think about how this idea is going to look like with the regulators. Can you actually license this idea in the country that you're in? And generally, from a common sense perspective, also sometimes the ideas that come across our table, our jaws drop to the floor. So it's good, by the way, to run these ideas past lawyers or advisors because they can sense check this for you. And what's the last one? Where founders copy trends from other markets. We see founders coming to us sometimes, they've got this great idea. It's something launched in the US and they want to launch it in the UAE. And we go, sorry, buddy, this is just not going to fly. If you try to launch something that's so wild, it's come from the US, because we have certain cultural norms, we are different. So you have to think about whether this will actually monetize and be able to fly given the restrictions or the laws that are in a particular jurisdiction in comparison to another jurisdiction, especially where you're thinking of bringing that idea in from. So that brings us to the end, believe it or not, of a very, I hope, insightful legal session. You can connect with us here. Michelle, I'll hand over to you for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bianca and Asina, for this. I would say maybe we take the questions at the end. I will share a couple of slides. I have one myself. I'm very curious about this one. So maybe I'm going to be the first one asking. So just a couple of minutes to understand what is next for Catalocity. So the plan is, this is the timeline. And the next phase that we're entering into right after this live session end is the ramp up and feed phase. So in this phase, which will culminate on the 23rd of March, so you more or less have 3 weeks, more or less, to complete the deliverable number 1, okay? Deliverable number 1 is the page summary. So in there, you need to present the foundation of your idea and demonstrating why it aligns with Catalocity. While thinking about the foundation of your idea, take into consideration what Bianca and Asina told here, because foundation legal can be foundation. Okay, so if you start wrong, then you cannot continue with your business. You might not continue with your business. So the goal of this document is also to communicate the core concept of your idea and tell us why it aligns with Catalocity. We will send you, of course, reminders when the deadline to submit this document comes. Yeah, the coaches are now available on Tornado. These are our fantastic coaches. Let me share with you Discord. So in here, as you can see, we have the coaches channel. In the coaches channel, you can tag the coaches and ask your questions here. Okay, so this is the place to ask it to them. If you want to send them a private message, you just click on the name and send the private message there. If you don't want to send it publicly on the channel. So yeah, this is basically what's gonna happen. Coaches are available, and now it's time for the questions, either for me or for Bianca and Asina. So I'm gonna stop sharing. So Bianca and Asina, thank you so much for the speech. It was incredible. I had many doubts before your speech, and now I didn't know I had many doubts, and now they're all clear. I wanted to maybe start with the first question myself. So while you were talking about trade secrets, I was thinking about, imagine that you guys at Crimson have the trade secret of Coca-Cola, as you mentioned, okay? What if I do reverse engineering and I have a pool of students from AUS, from chemical engineers, and I try to come up with the recipe of Coca-Cola? Am I doing something illegal? And I'm asking this because it might be relevant also for participants in Catalocity to understand if someone can reverse engineer their idea and can be copied or not.
I mean, it's one thing to prove that you have intentionally reverse engineered a product. You could also just come up with a recipe. There are so many cola recipes that are in the market right now. And nobody can actually prove that they reverse engineered. So nothing stops you from actually going ahead and trying to create a cola recipe of your own.
Okay, so no one is stopping me. And if I am, for example, submitting an idea in Catalocity and I'm participating, is there any measure or legal measure that I could take to prevent other people to do reverse engineering on my idea?
It's very tricky to say. Now, for copyright, it's easier. For trade secrets, it's quite tricky. So that's why we say try and limit how many people actually have access to data that is strictly confidential. And this goes generally, I think, as a business principle for all business owners. Don't disclose too much information. Only disclose as much as you need to. The most confidential information should always be retained with the founders.
Okay, this is very insightful. As you've seen, I've shared in before the platform that we're using to run the hackathon. It's our proprietary platform, and as you mentioned before, we're very careful about GDPR. But taking into consideration what you're saying now, it's hard for us to share, for example, on our website what we want people to see and what they shouldn't. Okay, because we also want to sell that. We want to sell the platform. So thank you for this advice on how to balance that. And I hope this will be taken into consideration for the teams of Catalocity when they maybe need to create a website, right, to sell their idea once it's incubated. So yeah, no, thank you so much for the speech. I know we are a little bit further in terms of timing, but if you guys, participants, you have any questions, you can either write them down in the chat, or you can just start your microphone. So
Hi, I have a question. Make him here. Sorry, I'm in the taxi right now, so I won't switch on my my camera. So I'm on the road. So one question actually to Crimson Legal. Now, if the participants of Catalocity, our great students who are joining us, if they would like to have the privilege of getting your counsel, for example, do they get any discounts?
I'll do something better. If they reach out to us and they say they're part of Catalocity, we'll offer them consultations at no fee, if that helps them in any way.
That's excellent. All right, students, heard that? Yay. Thank you very much.
Of course.
I am sharing your details, guys, here on the chat, but I also will share them on Discord, where all the participants are. Okay. All right. So if we don't have any more questions,
I
let's
have
see in the chat.
one comment actually. Actually, it's not a question; it's a comment. Now I see that there are two of the coaches in this call now. We have, I think Marco has left, but we have Omar who's still in the call. So Omar is one of our coaches. So Omar, do you want to say something to your coachees? You want to introduce yourself?
Sure, Mike. Well, I was not expecting this one, but my name
Sorry.
is Omar. It's okay. My name is Omar, so I'm very happy to be able to support the projects, the team, the ideas. I think in this slide from Michele, he was saying that I am head of sales. Maybe I would like to maybe update that one. My background is engineering, similar to many of the people in the call. However, I have been working in sales development as well for many years, but I have been working also in some innovation projects. So it would be really interesting to see some of the ideas, the projects, and I would be very happy to help everyone on this. So all the best, and looking forward to more interactions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Omar. Thank you to everyone. There is a question, Bianca Nasina, in the chat. How would legal requirements change if one was to start an e-commerce business? This is interesting.
It is interesting because the UAE has a special federal law on electronic transactions. We fondly call it the e-commerce law, but there is a dedicated law, and it tells you exactly how the site is meant to be operated and run. And you have to run an e-commerce business in accordance with three main laws. One is the data protection law, one is the electronic transactions law, the other is the cybercrime law. So these three laws would predominantly be your best friends. So you have to read it as a founder. I would strongly encourage you to read these laws. Oh, there's one more law, the consumer protection law. That's also very interesting because it empowers consumers buying from businesses in the UAE. So 4 laws, fortunately or unfortunately, that should be your best friend when you actually set up an e-commerce business in the UAE. 2 other tips I would give you is make sure your terms and conditions on your platform are solid gold, including your refund policy, your shipping policy, your cancellation policy, your complaints policy. Make sure these policies are really tight, and your cookies policy and your privacy policy. Make sure it clearly says, going back to data protection, what information you collect, how you collect that information, how you store it, for how long you store it, and what do you do with it? Do you share it with anybody else, or do you just use it maybe to send communication or deliver packages to people? So there's a lot we can talk about, by the way. Ask a lawyer a question and they can talk for a day. So I'll stop here.
Okay, yeah, I think we are 15 minutes past. So again, Bianca, Sina, thank you so much. Thank you, Thai Dubai, also for organizing this, Sicily. And yeah, so welcome everyone to Catalocity. Let it start, and then we will keep in touch on Discord. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.